Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you this evening. We have been working on this fantastic Bally Wizard pinball machine for a customer. We've done a couple videos on it so far where we worked inside of the cabinet, and then we did one where we worked on the bottom of the playfield and on the top of the playfield. We've got all of that working. Well, we've got all of that going. But it's still not working right. The game is not scoring right. There's all kinds of problems still. So we need to work through the back box. That's the only thing we haven't worked on yet. And then we need to troubleshoot it. So today we're going to work on the famous 70s Bally Backbox. Look how cool the back glass is, by the way. So around this era, all of the games, the heads of them were pretty similar. So they've all got about the same stuff in them. This particular backbox has a credit unit. It has 16 score reels, 4 for each player. It has they're saying this is the player up unit, right? This is probably the match unit. No, the 0 to 90 unit, which is, I think, used as the match unit. And there are 4 relays up here, which I think are usually called the over-the-top relays. If you get more than 100,000 points, those things turn on. Let's see if they called it the over-the-top relay on this machine. There's a sticker somewhere. I saw it there. Let's see if we can zoom in where you can read it. Is that what it says? No, it says 100,000 point interlock relay. The over-the-top relay usually has like a buzzer or something that goes off, so I don't know if they had these on this particular game, but we'll figure it out. And then down here we have our traditional point relay. So we have a 10-point relay, 100 point, 1,000 point, and then we've got our 2 score reset relays. So at the beginning of the game, these pull in, and it makes all of the scores reset. Sometimes you can do it by hand. Now notice how it stopped after they got to a certain point, right? So like if this one was on a different number, when I pull in the reset, it will keep moving that until it gets to 0, and then it'll stop. The reason it's able to do that is because when it gets to 0, one of these switches opens up. I'll be darned if you can tell which one though, but I guess the top one. But the switch opens up, and so whenever you hit the relay or the game pulls in the start relay, it will no longer go any farther because it's wired through that switch. Brilliant little design thing that makes it where they can easily reset it back to 0. It says 6 right now because we're looking at the back, but if you were to look at the front, it says 0. So just like usual, we're going to go through and clean all of this and make sure it's all working properly. Now, like I said, the heads of the games that were around this time are all set up just like this. I think on a lot of them you could swap the head. You could literally take the head off of one machine and just put it on this one and it would work, because they all seem to be wired exactly the same. I might be wrong about that, but one of these days I'm going to try it. I'm going to get 2 that are like within 6 months of each other, and I'm just going to swap the heads and see if they both still work. That'd be a heck of a video, wouldn't it? I probably shouldn't have said that because now you're going to expect it, and I don't know when I'll be able to do it. But I'll try. Okay, so the first thing that I usually do, because it's the easiest, is I clean these relays. So I'm going to use a little needle file, and I'm going to clean all of these little switches. Now these reset relays are really easy to understand how they work. If you look, there are 8 sets of switches on it. There's 2 rows, right? So that's a good view there. So you've got these 2 blades that need to touch together, and then there's 2 more in the back. So when this pulls in, right? When this pulls in, this actuator here makes the switches move. And you just need to make sure that they're all open and then touching, open and then touching. All 8 sets. And you need to clean the face of those contacts. See how black it is? It's just all tarnished up. You need to get that clean where it conducts electricity. And when it pulls in, it should move the smaller blade just a little bit, like it's doing. And by doing that, it'll clean itself as it plays. And then on some of the other ones, sometimes, I guess not on any of these, but sometimes you have a switch that's already closed. And whenever this pulls in, it opens it. And it's just backwards because they need it like that. But it works the same way. It's the same principle. And then sometimes you've got one that's called a make or break switch. There's a long blade in the middle and then 2 short blades, one on each side. So it's either like that or like that. And it goes back and forth as the relay pulls in and out. So it's one of the 3, usually. There's one other type that's on a playfield sometimes, but you just need to make sure that they're all doing what they do. Now, don't adjust every switch in the game. You just want to adjust the ones that are obviously way off. If they look like they're just, oh, this one's moving, but it's not moving as much as the one next to it, leave it alone. It doesn't matter. You don't have to adjust every switch. You just, if it looks like they're touching but it's not moving, you might want to adjust that one. So I'm going to go through and clean those and make sure that they're adjusted right, and then we'll move on to something else. I like just getting those out of the way because they're easy to do. All right, so I got all those clean, and I didn't see anything wrong with them, but I'll show you whenever this pulls in, this is how you want it to basically look once you get it working. If you just do this over and over again, you're just simulating this pulling this in. You don't want to push on this because it might go at a different angle. But this is basically just pulling that plate in like that. And you want, each pair of switches has a long blade and a short blade. The long blade is what's being moved by this. You just want to see if it makes the short blade move. It's like they're dancing. See how there's 8 of them? Now you may have noticed this front one right here is a little different than the other ones. It's not moving quite as much, but it is still moving, so I'm going to leave it alone. All right? It's just fine like that. And you just check through them. So I've got them all cleaned with my file, and everything's good. So the next thing I'm doing is, we've been having this problem while we test played it, where the lights in the back box, like all the lights would go out. Usually when that happens, it's a bad connection on these Jones plugs. So the power for that comes from the bottom, the transformer's in the bottom, the fuses are in the bottom, and it comes up and plugs into these plugs. Well, what happens is after years and years and years, they get all oxidized. So I've cleaned them up a little bit with just a little piece of 220 grit sandpaper. If you look, see the back side of the one there? How it has the spots and stuff on it? You'll have that all over them, and whenever it isn't allowing it to make good contact in here, you get problems. So I've cleaned all those up. We'll put those back, and let's see if that's made the lights look brighter or more steady or what's going on. All right, so they're all back on, and if you notice, they've got the blinking bulbs in it. And if you look at the ones that aren't blinking, they're staying on steady. Earlier, it was making all of them kind of blink a little bit, but now it's getting enough amperage through there where it can handle those ones blinking on and off, and the other ones staying on. So hopefully those will continue to stay on. We'll watch it. We need to replace all those bulbs anyways, but we'll get to that. This back glass looks like it's perfect. Around this era, they figured out something with the back glasses where they stay nice. Look, they even put fake cracks in the paint, so you wouldn't notice if it gets real cracks in the paint. That's one of the coolest back glasses ever. Okay, so we've got the Jones plugs. Let's see what's next. All of that's done. All of that's done. I guess we could mess with the player up unit. So basically what this does is there are 2 coils, one to move it one way and one to reset it. This one resets it, I believe. And then this one, when it pulls in, makes it step up. It's actually working just fine, but it looks like these traces could use cleaned. Let's see if we can reset just one position. Yeah, it can. So basically, if you're playing a 3-player game, this is player 1, player 2, player 3, and then it's wired in such a way that when you get to player 4, it skips that and instead hits this. Player 1, player 2, player 3, player 1, player 2, player 3. And each time it's going to step up the ball count unit that we messed with last time down in the bottom. But what that does is it basically takes the signals that are coming from the score units and turns on one set of the scores. So we have to clean that up a little bit. So I'm going to take this screw loose, pop this spider off where I can get to that board very easily, and then we'll do like we did on the other ones. We'll use a little bit of light sandpaper, clean it up, and then put a little bit of synthetic grease on it so that it moves smoothly, and we'll go from there. All right, so I cleaned it up, put the spider back on, and it's still working the same as it was, which I'll take as a victory. But now it's a little cleaner, so hopefully it'll last another. How long has this one been around? 50 years. Joe, this thing's 50 years old. Holy moly. All right, so it's good till about 2074, 2075. So whenever it needs serviced again, go ahead and bring it on back to me, and I'll take care of it. See you in 50 years. All right, so I've taken this 0 to 90 unit loose, and we're going to dig into it because we got to clean these two boards so that all of the match and stuff works. Sometimes too, on some of these, this is used for more than that, although I don't think it is on this one because there's only 2 boards in there. But on some games, the match unit is used to do some kind of stuff on the playfield too. Light up certain things and things like that. Okay, so it looks like there's a clip here. We're going to take it loose first. So I took the clip loose, and there's a screw going all the way through it with a spacer. Once you do that, you can get to the guts. So we have to clean that up. And then we need to carefully take this out and cut it up. I mean, clean it up too. So it's just down over that shaft. So here's the other one, and you can see that it's a little bit burnt because of the amperage running through pin F there and pin 4. I guess it was just stuck on that a long time, or it's starting to arc or something. You see how 4 is kind of darkened up. So we're going to clean that up the best we can. And again, a little synthetic grease on it. All right, I got it back together. Whenever you work on these, don't over tighten that screw, because what happens is it squeezes this together so tight that it makes it harder for the little wheel in there to spin around. And on this one you've got 2, one on the top and one on the bottom. So you got to get it where it will move well over and over and over and over again. It's going to do it thousands of times. These 0 to 90 units and match units, usually one of the point relays moves it. So the 0 to 90 unit step up solenoid is pulled in by a switch on the 10-point relay. So what that means is every time you score 10 points, it's going to move that thing one number, and that is used for the match at the end of the game. So if you were playing a 1-player game, it'd be harder to do on a 2-player game, but if you were playing a 1-player game and you really paid attention, you could figure out, let me think, not only could you figure out what score the match would work on, but you could get stuck to where you couldn't possibly match. Think about that. So at the end of the game, if you match the last 2 digits, you win a free game. So let's say this is set on 30, and you have 20 points. Well, when your game ends, you're not going to match because the light for 30 is going to light up, and you've only got 20 points. Oh, you know what, though? It resets to 0 every time, so that you wouldn't get stuck to where you couldn't. So at the beginning of the next game, it would reset to 0, and the match unit would still be on 30. So if you scored 30 points, the match unit would now be on 60 if it's set up linearly. Actually, I'm not sure that it is, but if it is. So now it's on 60 and you're on 30, so you can't win. So then if you reset the game, now you're on 0 and it's on 60. So you score, if you scored 50 points, it would be on 10. You might actually be able to make it line up. I don't know. You see the conundrum here, though. But if you were like a card counter, you could figure this out, I think. So we are on to the score reels. There are 16 score reels on this particular game. And this is Bally's score reel iteration from the mid-70s, which is probably the best one, in my opinion. These are probably the best score reels. They work really well. The board is inside, so you have to take it apart to get down to the board to clean that board, but you don't have the problem where they hang at 9 like a lot of the other versions of the score reel do. They just work really well. There's tons of parts for them because Bally was printing these things at the time. I mean, they were selling a ton of pinball machines. So the only thing you really have to worry about is that the switches are all clean and adjusted, and then that this board is clean so that the match works and the high score works. So the first thing we're going to do is take this clip off. Once you get the clip off, you can pull that out, but these plastic pieces are in the way, so you can move that one with your finger, and then this one, if you turn the score reel, there's a flat part on that cam where if you pull this thing back, I couldn't show you a minute ago because I only have 2 hands. When you pull that thing back like that, see how I'm tilting it up? It pops it out of the way where you can pop that thing off. You can also take it all apart by taking the screws out and all of that. It just depends on how deep do you want to go. And once you do that, you have exposed the board. This one is really not that dirty, but we're going to clean it up. And I'm not going to put any lube or anything on it because I don't know that they had it on these Ballys. They usually look dry whenever you get in there. So I'm going to just leave it how it is, but I'm going to clean it up and then you just put it back together. It's as easy as that. You've got a switch here, which is the end of stroke switch, so that needs to open when this goes all the way back, and then it needs to close when the spring that I just dropped on the floor pulls it back forward. And then we'll look at these 3 switches after that. All right, now if I pull this back, it's pulling the plunger in and moving the score reel. So we are on 0 right now. So different companies did it different, but this is how the Ballys worked in the mid-70s. So at 0, all 3 switches are open. When it goes to 1, it shuts the top one and the middle one. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9, all 3 of them are closed. Then at 0, all 3 of them open. It hung because I'm rubbing it against the side of the thing. So the purpose of that is it needs to know where the home position is. So the way that it resets it to 0 is it runs the power for the coil from the score resets, through one of these switches. So when it gets back to 0, it can no longer pulse this because the power is running through that switch that opened at 0. So that's how they get it to reset to 0. The reason there's 2 is because the other one turns off the reset relay inside of the game. So basically the reset relay just keeps pulling in until everything resets. So everything that's trying to reset has a switch that powers on the reset relay, including all 16 score reels. So if one reel isn't back to 0, the reset relay will just keep trying to reset everything. Eventually that final reel gets back to 0, that switch opens, and then there's nothing else to hold the reset relay on, and it turns itself off. When it turns itself off, it turns on the start relay and starts, or whatever, the out-hole relay, or it kicks the ball out, or whatever, and moves on to the next part of the sequence, right? So they're very important. Now the bottom one that closes at 9, the reason it does that is because this only goes from 9 to 0, so you wouldn't get any points. So it needs to go from 9 to 10. So that one that closes is wired in series to the next one in line to move it one position. So you move from 59 to 60. That's one over here and one over there, right? So it really makes a lot of sense once you mess with them a little bit. But you got to get all those working right. And so we just checked. All of ours are working right. So all 16 score reels are done. And I left every one of them on a number other than 0 for reasons I'll show you here in a minute. Okay, I don't know if I showed you this, but there are only 3 switches on the credit wheel here. One is just a long blade that runs the knocker. So whenever you win a free game, the coil pulls in to move this reel up one position, and on the back side it hits this switch together and makes the knocker knock. Okay, and then there are 2 switches over here, or I guess there's 3. One of them opens up, see it right next to the top one there? That opens up, and whenever it's open, it means you can't put any more credits on the game. So it won't let you put like 400 credits on it. Whenever that switch opens, you can no longer put credits on the game. Now, notice that little metal post could be moved. See the little holes in the plastic? I don't know if you can see it, but see that? So you could move that to there, and it would allow you to put more credits on the game. All right, now the other 2 are our important ones. One of these 2 switches, if it opens at 0 when you have 0 credits, and then that's why you can't start the game. As long as that switch stays closed, you can start the game over and over and over again. So that's how you put it on free play. You make it where that switch doesn't open. You can do that a number of ways. You could put an alligator jumper on the 2 blades back there. You could bend it out of the way where the little post, the little plastic post down there can't hit it. Now the other switch is to turn on the credit light. That light, if it's on, means you have credits on the machine. It's a thing that they did because of gambling laws. There were some states that said that you can't say on the back glass how many credits are on the machine because of gambling laws. If it said 10 credits, you could say, hey, that's $2.50 worth of credit. And then you could sell it to the guy behind you in line, because of course there's lines at all of these pinball machines. You could sell it to the guy behind you in line and say, hey buddy, give me $1 and I'll give you your $2.50 worth of credits. And it would be a way of gambling after you won a bunch of free games on the machine. So to get around that, the pinball company started adding a credit light, because basically that light, if it's on, it means that you can hit start. Kind of useless. So that switch doesn't really matter, but I don't know which of the 2 it is. You could look it up, but so I just make it where neither one of them open. This particular one is rigged in some way where it won't go down below 2 credits, so we're just going to leave it like that. That's how it was when we got it. The 100,000 point relays, I went through and cleaned all the switches on those. Very simple. You just have to kind of be a contortionist because they're mounted upside down on the top of the cabinet. And guess what? That's everything in the back box. So I think what we'll do now is one of my favorite parts of any of these videos whenever we're working on EMs. Did I get all of the score reels adjusted properly? So you turn your machine on. And then you hit the start button and see if it can reset every freaking one of those score reels. And if one of them doesn't reset, then you know you've got something to work on. So here we go. What do you think? You think I'll get them all the first try? I'm going to say, yeah, I will, because I'm, an optimist. By the way, you see the 100,000 light on up there? That's because I left one of those relays tripped. Okay, so let's hit start and see what happens. Very cool. So they did all reset, and then you heard something go bang and score 10 points. And it kicked the ball out. Now we have some kind of buzzing going on. That might just be the hold relay or something, but we'll figure that out. But yeah, so all the score reels reset. That one that's at 10, it added up to 10 because something on the playfield scored 10 points. We'll have to find that. Maybe that's the 10-point relay that's locked on that we're hearing making noise. We're kind of at the point where we're about to troubleshoot it, but first I want to change the light bulbs behind the back glass, and then we'll be done with all of the preventative stuff in the back box. So our clue is the 4th flag keeps kicking over, and the way that happens is if this button gets hit, If you look, the switch seems fine, but you can also do it by rolling over this rollover. See, it says flips flag 4, advanced bonus when lit. That is stuck. So the reason it's stuck, wax. Whenever we wax the playfield, there must have got some down in there and now it's stuck down. So let me clean that up a little bit. Alright, so I got it cleaned up. Now we're still getting the buzzing. So let me carefully lift up the playfield and see if I can figure out what's buzzing. Here's a little clue. The spinner gives you 10 points. And it ain't doing nothing. Probably because the 10-point relay is popped one. So something that scores 10 points is stuck somewhere. I have found the culprit. It's this rollover. Same thing. Got a little wax in there and now it's stuck down. The buzzing you were hearing was the 10-point coil chime stuck on. All right, so let's try it again. That's more like it. And you see that it flipped over the 4 flags and left them flipped. And you see we did not score 10 points, didn't flip over the 4th flag. So if I was to hit that, that would score our 10 points. If I was to hit that one, I would score 100 points and flip the flag. So they're both working and they're not stuck anymore. So that's all cool. All right, so I'm going to pop the back glass down. We'll get a good look at the back of it. It looks like it's in perfect shape. 10 out of 10, 100%. And then we'll replace all the light bulbs. So the back glass, like we thought, is pretty much perfect. It has a couple minor little things. None of them are usually perfect, but it's pretty close. It's got a little bit of dirt on it. If you look down here, there's a little bit of stuff going on there, but I think that's physical damage. I don't think that's any kind of water or anything like that. And it's just those couple little spots over there. It doesn't have it. So there's 2 or 3 things you need to think about. One, you can't really repair that. And so what I'm talking about is that's like a scratch. You know, and then there's one spot right there where there's a little spot of paint missing. It's so minor. It's actually that one. That one's not missing. It's that one. It's so minor, it's barely worth even mentioning. You know, I know a lot of pinball people are perfectionists because they're insane, but you know, come on. It's not even worth repairing. So there's that, and then 2, should you clean off this dirt? Maybe not. You know, if you clean it, you might damage it. And then thought 3, should you clear coat it? Because what we do if we've got a back glass that's flaking and has issues is we clear coat it with triple thick a lot of times. I wouldn't. The thing has lasted 50 years with no problems. I'd just leave it another 50 years. If you clear coat it, we think that preserves them, but you know, we're just doing that on ones that paint is falling off of. It's kind of a last ditch thing, right? So on one that's in really nice shape, I wouldn't clear coat it. Just keep it in an air conditioned environment, which means not just AC in the summer, but heat in the winter too. Keep it in a temperature controlled environment, you should say, and it'll probably just keep on keeping on. So I wouldn't clear them. Of course, dirt like here, you can of course clean up. But on the back glass, I'm not going to touch that. Because what happens if I start messing with it and a bunch of paint comes off? On the guy's back glass that he had that was perfect. And you can't tell that that's on there from the front. I ain't messing with it. But I am going to replace all of these burnout light bulbs and the ones that aren't burnout. We're going to replace a lot of light bulbs. And that alone will make the back glass look a heck of a lot nicer. Alright, so that's with all of the light bulbs installed. I guess I've got the lights on so you might not be able to tell, but it looks really good. I think there's a startup problem now, though, that we've introduced somehow. So I'm going to hit start and we'll see what happens. Sounds like it's trying to kick the ball. It went to game over. I think maybe it clicked through ball and play, scored each time, and then went to game over. Let's try it again. You heard the bell. The ball has kicked out now. It doesn't say ball and play won. So we've got definite gameplay issues. See, the ball and play isn't lining up. The hundreds are not scoring. That's probably that bell that we heard pop on. The 100 is probably stuck on. Maybe. 100-point relay is stuck on. So it can't score because that's in. So it could be that it can't score 100 right now. Something's messed up, maybe. And what you can do is you can try to... Yeah, see, it's trying. See how that can just freewheel? These can't. This one can because the coil's pulled in. So why is the coil pulled in and won't turn off? Well, it's supposed to open up an end of stroke switch here. So that could be stuck closed. Or it could be that something on the playfield again is stuck and it's just constantly scoring 100 points. Let me see if I can find it real quick before it burns everything up. It seems to have been one of these rollovers here. Yeah, see? Alright, so I need to clean those up, make sure they're working properly. But we're kind of where we were. It's not really, it ain't right. So we're going to have to go through and write down everything that's not working right, like the ball and play light and all of that, and then systematically work through it bit by bit by bit. But as you've seen, we worked through everything in the machine. So we've already touched everything in it. Theoretically, it should be working. It's just, it's not. So we still got some stuff misadjusted, dirty or something, or broken wires. So we'll have to find that next time. So make sure to leave us a comment down below. Let us know what you think so far. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you like all of these arcade games, pinball machines, and jukeboxes, make sure to check out our website. Go to lionsarcade.com. On the website, we've got prices, pictures, and descriptions of everything that we have available for sale right now. And we also have a lot of the parts and things that we use in our videos. Just generic stuff, not used parts, but a lot of the tools and things like that we've got listed on our parts page. So check that out, and we will see you back here next time for hopefully the finale of this repair series. Now, if you like Bally's Wizard, you probably know that there was a companion game that was Captain Fantastic and the Dirt Brown Cowboy, the Elton John machine, named after the Elton John album. So if you would like to see a video about Captain Fantastic, it's right there. We'll see you on the next one. Next time, hopefully, we'll finish up this Wizard.